Okay, so we're here in Phuket, and we've already recorded one podcast where you put me on the spotlight. But I thought it's a perfect opportunity because I think this trip for you is a very significant milestone in your life, and we've been reflecting a lot over the week with how far you've come, where you've come from. So before we dive into that, maybe we go, we take it back a few years and discuss what were some of the series of moments of triggers that made you think, right, enough's enough, I need to make a change now?
Yeah, so I think we'll have to go way back because those triggers start like many, many years ago. I think growing up, I wasn't particularly like super fit, but I also wasn't particularly unhealthy, just average. Played some sport, was always quite active. I didn't really get unhealthy until I was like 20, 21 years old at uni, partying too much, probably going out drinking too much, maybe like no structures to the day, etc. That carried on for a few years, and I think I had this like kind of, my personality is one of those where I use the confidence to mask anything else, so it's like kind of owned my identity. I am this big guy, doesn't really matter, I'm still having fun, etc. Finish uni, life changes, etc. Then I came back, and I think that's probably when I had the first trigger point. After you kind of like grow out of uni, and now we're talking, I'm like 24, 25 years old, just like looking at what my identity has become, and I was like, I'm not happy with that. So that was like the first time I quit my job, went traveling, all that kind of stuff. Still big person, big guy, not really looking after my health, but kind of, I think that was like a marker of like, I'm not happy with what I have become, so I need to like detach myself from everything, clear some space, think about it, and then come at it again. And then I think around 2018, like making the right decisions again. In 2018, I got healthy again, so I probably dropped like 20 kilos. Feeling back to like, okay, cool, I'm like fighting fit. And then I don't know, I kind of like fell back into like similar patterns for a while. But I was still conscious about like developing, moving forward. So I think the focus, it was just like, we will often talk about, you can only have like 3 priorities that you kind of focus on. And like, if health is going to be one of them, it has to be like in there as like number 1 or number 2, number 3. I think at that point, it just didn't make that top 3 cut. It was probably number 4.
Yeah.
And so I was like forgetting all of the things that I already knew. And I wasn't like, I think I did like, I didn't follow the plan, but just kind of followed the stuff that you kind of preach for that stuff in getting healthy in 2018. But then because I hadn't like cemented that structure, it fell away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then
we call it a death by 1,000 cuts, where you've lost weight and then slowly you have 1 chocolate bar turns into 2 chocolate bars. Exactly. One skip gym session turns into 2. Next thing you know, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And then I carried on like that, kind of like still training a bit. The thing is, throughout all of this, I think one of the things that has stuck is like I regularly go back to like the gym. I might have like 3 or 4 weeks off, but then I would still go back and I'd be like, I need to nail my 3 sessions. Even as a big guy, I was like, I could run 5K. I would do like the JP Morgan challenge and stuff like that just on a whim, without even training for it or anything like that. So that thing never kind of disappeared. I was like still like internally, I felt this need to be active, but I just wasn't supporting it with all the other right structures in my life. Then I think probably like in most recent years, my mindset shifted again towards more like, what are all the factors that make you a high performance individual? Like you need to be doing things that like the 1% are doing, not what the 99% are doing, right? So that's when I started to like say no to a lot of things. I think we actually went on a walk maybe like 2 years ago or something like that, where you kind of said this line about what's your identity? That was a question that you asked me. And then that was a major trigger point, because it was like, yeah, what is my identity? What do I actually want to become? What's the future version of myself that I want to become? And then that's like, then the wheels started turning quickly. Like, well, what do I actually want to become? How does what are the high performance behaviors that I need to adopt to become that person. It's almost like the future version of me was like directing
Yeah.
the present version, saying, do these things. And then that's when I started to like really consciously think about how I need to like shape my behaviors to like almost adopt that future persona already. And then that's when I started saying no to things. So up until that point, I was still doing like silly behaviors, like buying social time. I kind of use that phrase a lot, right?
What does it mean? Just for the listeners.
So that's like, I think we also like chatted about that. That's like, you buy social time as like a crutch because you're stressed out, whatever. You kind of just like, your brain's like firing on like, you know, all kinds of like scattered brain approach that I have. And therefore you kind of like buy social time. So you go out for dinner, just staying out late, buying experiences, doing stuff like that. But really it's a crutch. You're just using it to like not confront the things that you need to change. And so you're overeating, over-consuming, not sleeping enough, etc. But you think that you're living life, but you're not. What you actually need to be doing is like detaching, removing all of the crutches so you can like figure out what's the next positive step rather than just like going through the motions. Does that make sense? Yeah. So rather than just like catching yourself up in going through the motions, you need to kind of pull yourself away from that, clear out any distraction, and then really think, okay, what's the next step that I need to take to move forward? So it was like after we had that kind of identity chat, that's when I started to think more about saying no. And like, I don't know, trigger points, you know, I'm your friend, so you make like a conscious effort to like direct my like health and all that kind of stuff. But you weren't the only one, right? It takes like a whole tribe. Like my sister, my parents, all stuff like, you know, they're saying to me all the time, like, dude, come on, look after yourself. And then it was like that moment of realization that me not like prioritizing my health is actually impacting more than just me. Everybody else is worried. And that, you know, I hate making people worried. And so that was another trigger point, like the impact that you know, I'm thinking I'm doing all the right things, working hard, and like, you know, almost like work hard, play hard, finding balance, moving forward. And yeah, things are moving forward, I'm doing them. But because I wasn't prioritizing my physical health, like, it was like, it almost like wasn't worth it, because everyone was like, why are you working so hard when, you know, you look unhealthy?
Yeah.
And that was what their worry was. They didn't care about they don't care what job you have, like where you live, what you drive. No, like, you know, the people that are close to you don't care about that. They only care about like you as an individual. And so that's when I realized I'm going about this the wrong way. So where health had like dropped to number 4, it needed to be number 1, and then everything else just kind of happened as a matter of course. But again, it takes a long time to like get into that mindset. And I often describe it as like when you like grow up with like a survival mindset, which is how you're conditioned to grow up when you're like South Asian. You know, I grew up like next to South. Well, everybody works that way. It's like, keep working yourself. It takes a long time to like unlearn that and then think, oh, actually the better approach to it is to prioritize yourself and health first, and then everything will follow. So I think, you know, I don't know, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. You asked me like what the trigger point is. I'm explaining something else. But yeah, that, I think to get to that mindset, it takes a number of like kind of...
So what was the one where what was the one where you thought, right, I've got something's now flipped. There's no going back.
So that didn't happen, like the flip of the switch. It wasn't like there was one key decision that happened. Everything happens by repetition. And so it was the repeated like action of like people like you, my family, my sister, and then myself also reflecting on, you need to change. And then, you know, my sister recently had a baby, she's got a nephew. And for me, I was like, what image do I want to kind of present to my nephew? Do I want him to see this kind of like unhealthy uncle that like works really hard all the time? Or do I want to be like really present and like, you know, physically active? Growing up, so this is what was weird for me. The kind of influences that I've had in my life, like really I shouldn't have been the way that I am. Like all of my like favorite childhood memories is my dad playing with us. Like my dad would work himself to the bone. Like similar to how like, I work really hard. My dad did the same thing, but he always found time to be physically active with us. Like all of my best memories are like playing outside with my dad, like playing in the garden. My dad would like finish work, come into the living room, and like he would be a horse, and me and my sister would like ride him around and stuff like that. So when I started to think about that, when like my nephew was born, I was like, I'm in no condition to be like working really hard and then coming home and having enough energy to do stuff like that. So maybe that was also like a major trigger point that I have to do this. Like there's no option not to do this, because when I say like I want live life to the fullest, part of that is having those kind of like core memories with like my nephew and all that kind of stuff. So that was probably another like triggering factor.
Well, for context for the listeners, like we met on the first day of university. We lived next door in the same flat. So we've known each other for coming up to 13 years now.
Yeah.
When we first met each other, I think we were the same body weight, or pretty much the same body weight.
I probably had slightly higher body fat.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You were in pretty good shape.
I was pretty good shape, yeah.
So, how did the weight pile on? Like, how did you go from being a guy in shape to effectively overweight?
Yeah, well, let's say it as it is, right? Obese.
Yeah. How did that happen?
I think it was just ill discipline. For me,
what does that
personally,
mean? Yeah.
like just make it like I got sucked up in the kind of like
fast life.
The fast life. I'm chasing the wrong things. I'm like, I don't know, party, I'm going out all the time. I'm with the lads, going for a mixed grill, get a couple beers in, all that kind of stuff, right? I was living like the typical like mixed grill beers kind of lifestyle, but really that's not my identity. I've never been like that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a super nerd. Yeah. I like to do like construction, DIY and stuff in my spare time, which is pretty active. I'm not like, I don't spend hours in the pub. I'm not even like a football guy. I don't even watch, like, go to the pub and watch like, but I was living like that because, why was I living like that? Just like, maybe I was like in the wrong crowd, like, or I don't know, I wouldn't say wrong crowd because I've got like a handful of friends and like, they all kind of live in a way that I live now. I have no idea like what the kind of factors were that kind of like pushed me in that direction. It's almost like me myself made the bad choices. Maybe I wanted to try it out, see what it's like to live like that.
Yeah.
I think it's just very easy to fall into that. Yeah. That's why I don't kind of have like a why. I think it just happened as a matter of course. And there's other people that I've observed, like that I've known since school and stuff. I got like, I got friends that like could have played sports at like county level, like when we were growing up. But now they're like, all of their kind of like, I don't know, they went to uni and they also fell into the same trap. And they're still not being able to pull themselves out. So I think it's just...
I think there is a thing where you can accumulate these habits and it becomes a way of life. Like you just... you talk about we talk about like life's treadmill and the hedonic treadmill, where if you don't take control of that treadmill and get off it, you can 10 years can go by, 20 years can go by, and the next thing you know, you're 40, 50.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. Like it was just the treadmill. It was just going through the motions and like not figuring out that like, I don't know, the approach to life is just wrong. Like chasing success but at the expense of health, that's not the way that the equation should work. Like the optimization, I don't want to get too, I was going to describe it as an optimization problem.
Go for it.
So like when people are approaching life, what they're trying to optimize for is like utility or like entertainment from life, right? And people fall into this trap that they optimize the kind of social side of things, buying experiences, all that kind of stuff. They optimize for like earning maximum money and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that gets minimized in this whole equation is health, self, and like mindset, etc. But really, if you optimize those and minimize like social time, minimize like the buying of experiences, etc., when you reflect back on life, the utility is greater. In the moment, it feels like it should, the equation should work that way, right? That you should optimize the here and now, whatever. But actually, you should delay the gratification and then the utility that you earn at the end is much, much higher. So I think that's the way that I would describe it.
That's something I think people can only realize once they experience health.
Once the flip is switched.
Because otherwise, before that, it's almost like, well, why do I waste time on that? Or,
yeah.
Why do I want to go to the gym? Or I'd rather eat this.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in that cycle, that's a foreign concept and a foreign way of living. Whereas once you're on the other side, it's like, how can that, how can you even live life like that?
Exactly. So, again, several trigger moments happen. You won't be able to flip the equation.
Yeah.
You won't be able to do that overnight. Everything happens by repetition. You have to keep telling yourself every time that you do something that's not casting a vote for your future self. You have to correct yourself. It's like Pavlov when he trained up the dogs with negative reinforcement. You have to apply that to yourself. You're an animal at the end of the day. There's pathways in your brain that have been built according to bad behaviors. So your default setting is to go to those I'm labeling them as bad behaviors, but whatever. In the moment, they might feel like this is what I want to do, but you're going to keep reverting to that. So therefore, you have to keep correcting yourself and build a new pathway. And then the flip of the switch happens is one day you just realize that actually my default setting was to go for the good option, and I feel pretty good about it. It's given me more utility than following the previous pathway. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
And how does that work? Because for someone who's got say 15, 20, 30 kilos, maybe more to lose, you're not 30 kilos in so far, right? And it's not the end of you're still going towards your checkpoint. How did you manage to overcome that immense overwhelm of this is going to take longer than a year just to lose the weight? Then I've got to somehow figure out how to keep this off. How did you approach that? And
I think
did you try and gamify it? Did you try and break it into chunks? Have you set challenges? How have you approached such a big task?
Okay. You always have to break down every task into chunks, otherwise everything seems like an impossible goal. So definitely chunking helped. When you got such a long way to go, you got to count the first 5 kilos that you lose. That's a massive win, right? But then you can't become complacent. So part of all of that learning that I just described with the optimization problem and delayed gratification and then kind of max utility, you also have to apply that to the weight loss. You can't just lose the initial bit and be oh, this is great in the present. Oh, I feel wonderful now. You got to keep going. You have to understand that no pain, no gain. So you have to keep going. You've done the 5-7 kilo, accept it, great, put a smile on your face for one day. The next day you need to get in the gym. The next day you don't go out messaging the boys let's go out for a mixed grill, right? That's not the approach that you take. So sorry, can you say the question again? What do you
how do you approach a 30 kilo loss and break it down, or a substantial loss? You said 30 for you.
Yeah.
But any sort of big milestone, which is going to take longer than 6, 9, 12, 15 months to lose.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be dieting, right?
It is. But I think you just have to accept. Without just cutting straight, you just have to accept that this is going to take a long time. It took me a long time to get here. It's going to take a long time to get out. So chunking things, setting small goals helps. Then the delayed gratification piece. You can draw an example from a career. When you're in your first 2 years of a new career, everything is blinding. Your head's constantly spinning, etc. When you get to year 3, 4, 5, you're comfortable. You can just execute. You can just it happens. People say my job is easy and all that kind of stuff. It's because they've picked up all of these skills over the last 3 or 4 years. In 3-4 years of a career to make it easy. And you can apply that to kind of when you have a huge fitness goal. Over time it will just become easier. And so that kind of you have to understand, lost my chain of thought.
No, I think it makes sense because high achievers and high performers will typically excel in one area of their life very, very highly, which is usually some form of working discipline, right? So they've usually done very well in their career. And if you can translate that work ethic, that delayed gratification, the ability to play the long game, because if you progress in your career, you've played the long game, right? You can't cash in next month. You have to take time to build a network. You have to take time to build a reputation. All those principles, which take 3, 5, 10 years to do, all you have to do now is apply that to your fitness.
Exactly.
And if you've proven it in your career and you've proven it in your business, you just need to apply that same philosophy to your health.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, if high performers can relate to that, then they can apply that philosophy. It actually becomes quite easy because you can then just apply you just go all in with that. You just need the all in mindset like you have with your career.
I think so. And that's where people struggle. They don't realize that they've actually already got the skills to do this.
Yeah.
But just in a very different area of their life, and the career thing, that's probably something.
Like when you start your career, it's all consuming, right?
Yeah.
When you start something like a body transformation, it's all consuming.
Exactly.
Like nutrition is something all day long. Training, not all day long, but it's got to be top of your agenda each week.
Yeah.
Sleep. So
I think
it's very similar.
It is similar, and I think the thing that people need to do is remember I just described top 3 priorities and then number 4. Well, career is all you chat to anyone and career is almost always in the number 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But it's realizing that that's at the expense of health. If you put health at number 1, then career and everything will just happen anyway. But if you're able to if you've been able to approach your career as the number 1 priority and let it be all consuming, let it take over your life, do the networking, go out for the beers after work, etc. If you've been able to do that and build out a career, you can apply all of those same behaviors just to your fitness. So rather than going out for the beers, why don't you hit the gym? Why don't you find the 5 people at your work that go running on a Tuesday and go running with them? That's still networking, right? Why don't you you can tweak your behaviors and you almost find points to match off in your top 3 priorities. So health, wealth, spiritual well-being. You kind of always, you can find areas to draw parallel, I don't know, cross-cutting kind of things across them. So yeah, that's the way to approach the kind of big chunky goal. And
there's no real way to you just gotta
the honest truth is you just gotta grit your teeth and get on with it.
Now I want you to give this message because whilst you're not someone who's lost a kilo a week, so it's not been that sort, but you've still lost 30 kilos in a good amount of time so far. And I think a lot of people get intimidated by that idea of even some people get intimidated by the idea of 10, 15, 20 kilos. And then there's that problem. And then the other problem is, I've actually got to lose that much weight. I've actually got to lose 20, 15, 20, 30 kilos to see the body I always thought I had, which I thought would only take 5 kilos to drop.
Yeah.
Like that, has that been a shock to you when, what were you at your highest?
105.
105, and you're probably going to end up at maybe 60?
Yeah, hopefully 65.
Hopefully 65.
Yeah.
But even then, you're hopefully it's 65. That's 40, 40 to 40, 45 kilos. Yeah. You get told that at the beginning, and you're like, what?
Yeah. No.
Because we want to overestimate how much body fat.
Yeah, and I guess for me, maybe because I've been exposed to a lot of it, because I know you kind of I've always been into fitness or some sort of activity and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So maybe for me, because I have seen you tell people this is how much you got to lose. I've met people that you've transformed and stuff. So for me, I could understand that I just need to keep doing 1% a week and I'll get there. I could understand the whole delayed gratification. For someone that's not exposed to it as much, why would it feel more daunting? It would feel daunting because it's you got to lose a human. So what, how would I approach it in that way? I'd kind of I don't know. It's understanding that your 1% a week is gonna add up. Just almost like forget about the end goal.
Yeah.
Just focus every week that I'll drop a little bit this week.
And also, like, it's just focusing on the benefits you're going to get along the way.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're going to have to wait that long to get the benefits. You'll see benefits straight away. You start feeling more energetic.
Agreed. You sleep better.
Your sex drive goes up, your work cognitive function goes up. All these things start kicking in. A couple of weeks in, a couple of months in.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's not like you have to wait until, all you got to do for that bit is, maybe it's the six pack or the toned stomach that you wanted. But all the other benefits are going to come along the way. And they'll come straight away.
Yeah, agreed. But it's also accepting that when they come, when they come, don't get into a mindset of like, it's happened now. Like, look, I'm feeling much better. I'm sleeping better. There's still a long road to go.
How have you battled complacency?
Check-ins, accountability, high levels of accountability. People often say, there's this phrase like, don't tell people what you're about to do. Like, don't tell people your goals and stuff. Stay quiet about it. And then, like,
announce it.
You don't announce it. It's like almost like let the results speak for themselves, etc. Humans are like, we're tribal animals. If you tell the tribe that you're doing something, it adds massive amounts of accountability because you do not want to look shit in front of the tribe. That's the way that I think about it. And so you choose who your tribe is. Obviously, don't go and like take out a 2-page spread in a national newspaper saying I'm about to do like lose 40 kilos, but just choose 5 people that you trust and tell them, I'm going to do this. This is what my behaviors need to be like. I want you to rein me in when I'm not doing those things. You kind of have to, like, I would say announcing it is good. And obviously, like, use R&T, plug it anyway. But yeah, having something like that, having the coach, having the kind of cohort, etc., all adds to the accountability. But even for people that are not on the program, like, you give away a lot of material. They could take your plans, add that accountability, and like they could achieve things. Like, you've seen it, right? People have come to you so many times, like taken your articles and like, this is how far I've got by myself. So yeah. Accountability is key. That's how you don't get into this complacency. That
public accountability is a big one. I think you're really right on that. In that you hear of the whole thing of like, when you announce a goal, you receive the same dopamine hit as you've already achieved it.
Yeah,
apparently. Okay. But at the same time, I think it raises the stakes because now you've publicly.
You don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah, you don't want to be embarrassed.
Nobody wants to be embarrassed.
Yeah, and you're the last person to let yourself down, right? If you keep it quiet, you can easily just justify, I'll start it next week, I'll start it next week.
Agreed. You have to announce it to people who you respect their opinion, or you can take feedback from them. Like, I don't know, some people like announce it all across social media and stuff like that too. That's also fine if you're like willing to take the heat.
What about coachability? Have you always been someone who's coachable?
Okay, yeah. So no, I'm not. I'd say that I have, like, there's certain elements of my life where, if I know somebody is better than me at something, I'm totally coachable. The moment that I think that I'm good at it myself, I'm like not coachable at all. I accept that about my personality. So I think there has been a time where like I wasn't so coachable. Like, you've had like maximum amount of patience like with me. The amount of times that you've like kind of steered me right over the last like 10 years. Yeah. Like in terms of like fitness, but it's because I'm like, I know what I'm talking about too. I've done my reading. I've read your articles, right? Like, but it was until I just thought, you know what, this is not getting me anywhere. I have to be open to change. I have to be coachable, and I kind of just removed it from my head. I was like, I would just execute whatever I get told. I would just do, and that's been like, that's the thing that supercharged it. I'll never write, when Ivan is posting something saying like, you've messed up here, you haven't done your meal prep or whatever. I would never say, no, I think I should do it like this. I will always say, yes, you're right. I should do it like that. And so just being like, it's almost like I'm outsourcing the thinking. I don't need to think about it. Like, right? I'm on this program. I've outsourced the thinking about it. So just accept that this is not like you need to learn to control like the kind of is it an emotional reaction or whatever
It
it
is.
is, like stuff or
People
like
get defensive.
personality. Yeah, you need to get rid of that and just accept that what this person is telling you is the right, and you'll have a bunch of like naysayers. Like, what do you mean you're meal prepping? Wow, you can eat 6 days healthy, and 7th day you can like come out and go for a meal. You know, you've got to treat yourself. Like you've got so many like things, but just accept that the coach is telling you the right thing.
Yeah.
Just follow it 100% and remove the rest of the distraction. That's another way to like not get complacent. Like open yourself up to like, this person is making the decisions for me and I just need to focus on executing those choices. You have to be open with communication. Obviously, like if you're like starving and super hungry all the time and it's like, you know.
But that's not coachability. Coachability is not like saying, "Oh,
Go on.
is that there?" But as in what you're saying before. Sorry, the starving bit. That that's the idea of sharing is part of being coachable, right? Because then the coach can course correct you. But I think what you said there around like not second guessing every single thing. You know, we come across people who'll be like, "Oh, but you know, I want 15 different meal plans with 15 different foods, and this food isn't there for me, or should I be training 3 days a week? You know, do I really need to drop that much weight?" Or all these questions. They're the experts, and I just think.
And the thing is, those people aren't coming up with this themselves. Yeah, there's somebody else in their like tribe telling them, "Oh no, you can like."
And the reality is, they don't get anywhere. Yeah. They just spin their wheels, get nowhere. And I think until someone takes an all-in mindset, where they just have to accept that they've messed up for years. Yeah. Right. And there's that saying of like, if it takes you 12 years to walk into the woods, you're not going to walk back out in 12 weeks. Yeah. Right. It's going to take. Might not take 12 years to walk. Oh,
it's not going to take 12 years. That's the thing.
It's not going to 12 years. You're going to have a fitter body on the way back.
Yeah.
So you're going to
get faster. You're going
to run out quicker. But that is the reality. And in fact, if you gain weight every week for 12 years, it'll probably take you 12 years to lose that weight. So there is an extent to it.
Yeah. So I don't know. We covered a few things there. Like, I'm going to just, I don't know where we are in the discussion right now. I'm just going to sum it up.
Agenda.
Yeah, like in the agenda. So one is delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big thing in all of this. So when you approach like a chunky weight loss goal, you have to understand the mechanics of delayed gratification, for sure. Another major factor is identity. So if you know that how you are now, you're not happy with, it's not the person that you thought you were going to become, the way to think about that is nothing to get upset about. The way to think about it is that's your future self directing you on what to do right now to become that person. So adopt that identity already. Adopt the behaviors that future self would be doing, etc. So delayed gratification, identity, optimization problem. So putting health will unlock everything else. Don't live in the here and now. Like, I need to have fun right now. It's not that was the delayed gratification bit. The bit that I'm talking about here is prioritization. So don't prioritize. If you can prioritize career and you can get yourself to a successful position, you've got all the skills that you need to now prioritize health and reshape your identity, reshape your approach to health and fitness. Coachability. So you have to be open to coaching. You can't just say, "Yeah, I've got a coach," and then be second guessing everything that I do. Go all in. Forget about most people that listen to your podcast, high performers themselves. They'll understand this is an efficiency play, right? You've paid someone or you're employing someone to make all your fitness decisions for you. So just execute. Why are you wasting time thinking about it? You don't need to think about it. Somebody else is getting paid to think about it for you, right? Just execute. So that's how you should approach the coachability thing. All of that combined, gets it all churned into a mix. Then when you're, it just drives you so much. Like your brain kind of you go into a super hyperdrive. Like your fitness accelerates. You got so much focus on your career. You're kind of getting rid of all of the kind of the decision fatigue that plays into it as well. Like when you know that, for me, I keep a very simple meal prep. like got very simple meal plan. I eat the same breakfast every day. Like mine's optimized to the point I walk into the Leon and they turn around and you know, sourdough toast and like plain egg pots, they just appear. Like it's that, like, even other people, they're not even part of the tribe really, right? It's like two people that work at Leon, but they know that as soon as I walk in the door, I'm always going to get that. You have to like just execute all of this. It's so easy to do. Everything just starts to fall into place and get in order.
One thing we had dinner a couple of weeks ago, this was before the trip. One thing that came up in conversation was the idea that, ended up being a tweet that I did. You got to shed the weight to shed the weight.
Yeah, shed the weight to shed the weight.
And it came over a dinner discussion where we were discussing people's approach to mental health, people's approach to dealing with mental weight, effectively. And I know you've had your own share of mental health battles over the years, and which may or may not have contributed to the weight gain. Probably to an extent it did. Do you want to discuss that sort of concept that we were exploring and like how it's helped you in your journey so far?
So yeah, it's exactly that. Shed the weight to shed the weight. The second weight can be anything that you want it to be. It's just about being action orientated on the first thing will help with everything else. You have to understand that we're animals at the end of the day. We have to move, we have to be healthy, we have to be balanced in terms of fitness in order to fit everything else, like spiritually, mentally, etc., to be aligned. But people often get caught up in the kind of like mental, spiritual space because it's like all consuming and it's like front and center in your mind, etc. And they kind of stop acting as an animal would. Like an animal would always move. An animal needs to like hunt for food. It needs to like travel like, long distances, etc. People kind of like get so fixated on their kind of emotional and like mental state, they stop doing the things that are like they're meant to be doing, or nature has intended us to do. So if you just flip your focus back to just being, and you move more, you eat healthy, you kind of just take action to like be active. It's amazing how quickly all of the other like weight just falls off. And it's almost like, by a factor of 100x. You lose 5 kilos, there's 100x improvement in like spiritual, mental, emotional well-being. You start losing like 20 kilos, think about what that's doing in that other set of weight. It becomes like, exponential. So when you go through like a massive transformation, it brings balance and like, calmness to everything. So I think that, just focus on executing the first set of weight. Everything else will follow. And you have to trust that wholehearted. You have to trust that that's, trust in your human physiology.
Yeah.
That's it.
Physical health is the first pillar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual. But without that physical foundation, it's very difficult. That's why we talk about physical being the vehicle. It takes you, it allows you to go upwards.
Yeah.
And you can think about that in many different ways and analogies, but ultimately it comes back to what you just said. You have to fix your physical health in order to fix everything else.
100% agree. And I think that whole like shed the weight to shed the weight is also kind of, you get to choose your hard. So there's two ways. Like it's hard to be living in this space where it's like emotionally, physically, spiritually difficult, and it's hard to approach your fitness and your physical transformation and to change your like identity almost. But the thing is, you have a choice. You can choose which hard to pursue. You can either choose to keep like treading that kind of path that's all in your head, or you can like choose a hard problem and think about ways to solve it and just put all of your energy into solving that physical transformation or that physical part of your being, and it pays off dividends. But you get to choose your hard. I think that's what I'm trying to get.
And I think a lot of people can get stuck overthinking when they only explore mental health and without physical health. Firstly, I think they're massively intertwined, that you need physical to have mental health. Physical health won't sort your mental health issues, but it will give you a much better platform to do so. But when you only just do things that are associated with mental health with no resolve or consideration for your physical health, I think you just spin your wheels. But secondly, I think you can end up in a trap where you just overthink.
Yeah.
And you just go deeper and deeper down rabbit holes. Whereas I think most of us probably need to get out of our heads more and into our bodies more.
Yeah.
And that's what something physical activity does. And that's why I say the more physically active I am, the more my mind feels clearer and stiller, because I'm out my head. My natural default is I can get into my head, start thinking about this, ideas there, thinking about that, ruminating on this, planning that in the future.
Yeah.
You're all over the place.
Scatterbrain.
Exactly. Whereas with physical activity, especially if you can find one where it takes you into that void state, you can really get dialed into your body and in the present.
Yeah. And it becomes addictive. People that I think, people that are listening to this podcast, people that are like interested in changing their body, there's a certain personality trait that they have where they kind of want to chase performance. And, oftentimes they're also kind of people that are suffering in that mental, emotional, etc. space, or their brain's always whirring. They're also like high performing individuals. And by chasing like the physical and entering the void and stuff, it kind of like, it gives you headspace, even though you think that it's all consuming, because you find these voids, you find this stillness. So yeah, it's almost like, don't underestimate just how powerful the physical kind of focus can be in unlocking all of the answers that you need to the thousands of questions that are in your head every day.
How's the physical been the vehicle for you so far? At the basic level, just more energy, better sleep, more performance. I feel like I keep pushing myself to the limit. I get obsessed with like things and like physicality. The step count, for example. 15 months ago, never did I think I'm going to be doing like, blasting it on the step counter step machine for like an hour, and like on what speed?
Yeah, okay. Like on level 20 and above. I think the max that I've got to now is level 27.
So you're basically just running on that.
I'm running on the step. Yeah. So why do I do those things? Why do I like kind of challenge myself physically to that? Because for me, it's like, it's a good test of like just how limitless I can be. So I've always been quite confident in myself. My default setting is overconfidence, right? And I'm never like, even when I'm like nervous or scared, my coping mechanisms have been like
projecting confidence.
Project more confidence.
Yeah.
And like the more and more that I've like moved towards being like physically fit, there's almost like, that's transformed into like this quiet internal confidence where I don't need to project it anymore. I just know inside I could do anything. I could literally do anything. So I think that's probably been like the biggest like, people are gonna like hear it and think, he's so arrogant, so, but like genuinely like I don't care.
Yeah.
I know that I can do anything, and that's what's like inside me, and this physical transformation, etc., has helped like unlock that way of thinking. It's an abundance mindset.
Yeah, I think once you get that feeling, then it's just a case of what do you want to achieve, and then you just go.
What do you want to direct it on, and just go do it. And I've got a scatterbrain. I want to achieve everything.
Yeah.
But it's also like, choosing your time and like choosing the right moment to do things. Right now, for me, I know what I want to achieve in terms of physical fitness and what that's going to unlock. For me, it's unlocking more years of life, more experiences, more memories, etc., more energy to do things. That's why I'm so focused on it right now. But once you've done it, it's very hard to do a physical transformation. So when you've done it, everything else just seems really easy. Like everything else, like if we put the career angle on it, career is just spreadsheets and PowerPoint. Like, okay,
really in front of a laptop,
right? just got to fire up a laptop and press a bunch of plastic keys and like, you know, do it.
Yeah.
A physical transformation you can't buy, you can't cheat. There's no quick way to do it. It's earned. And physical transformations or like achieving maximum potential as a human has been around for like thousands of years, and like, you know, it's been around since before any of the businesses that we work in or have built have been around. So it's almost like a deeply like spiritual thing as well. It's like, why would you not want to like be the best version of yourself physically? That's a big line from someone like me who like 15 months ago, if you looked at me, you'd be like, what's this guy talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's unlocked all of that. I think, like, in summary, what has it unlocked? It's just this. It's this like limitless belief in self, deep, like quiet confidence, and just like fearlessness when it comes to any problem or setting any goal, any ambition. I know I can achieve just about anything. I mean, you know, even put just about in there to like temper it down, but I actually just mean anything.
Yeah. No, amazing. What's left to achieve for you? You said like you're still on this journey. What do you want to achieve with your physical health and for your body in this year?
So this year I want to be like, I want my body to be in a state where it's like the best it's ever been.
So what does that mean?
You know, partly aesthetics.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah,
what does
partly
that mean?
aesthetics. What does it mean?
Yeah, what does that
Aesthetics?
like, what is this?
Obviously I want a six pack, right? What else does it mean?
Yeah.
I want a six pack, not because like, you know, I want to put topless photos on Instagram or anything like that. I want it for myself. I want to look at myself and be like, yeah, this is a vision that I had of myself and I worked hard and now I've got it. That's what I want. It's that, you know,
Yeah.
I've had this delayed gratification moment for a while. When I get it, what do I do with it? I want to maintain it. And then just, you know, I'm all into like physical challenges. We're out here training. Who would have thought, right? No, I'd come out on holiday, be training 5 hours a day and actually having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Like,
The funny thing is, you hadn't even done a session yet when we booked it.
yeah. So for me, it's like, I don't want to overcomplicate things as well. Like right now, the only focus is
That's it.
getting that peak physical condition. Everything else will just fall in place. And then, you know, then I'll go into like maintain or reward. I'll make that decision then. Do I want to get bigger? Am I happy with the way that I look? These are like, you know, these are things that I can think about once I've achieved the first bit.
Just for the listeners, we're out in Phuket training at Tiger Muay Thai, typically between 3 and 5 hours a day, doing Muay Thai, and Abs booked this trip, having not done he'd done boxing in the past, but he'd yet to do a Muay Thai session. And I think he floated the idea to me, we floated the idea to each other, I think, in different levels, and we just thought, screw it, let's book it. And here we are. So that's the context for those wondering why we're recording this in Phuket.
3 to 5 hours a day training. Sometimes yesterday Akash got 30 minutes more in than me. It's turned into a bit of a competition.
Yeah, 30 minutes more than today.
Oh, and today as well. But you didn't do the hour yoga that day.
Yes.
You slept in.
Yeah, okay. Constant ego battle, eh? What almost kept you from doing this?
Kept me from doing it? Myself. There's nothing else to blame. Like, I knew what I needed to do. Lack of action. Why? Sometimes, like, you know, people describe it like fear of failure and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I was that particularly fearful of like failing, because I never do anything intending to fail. I think it was just that kind of prioritization ranking that I talked about before. I wasn't letting health come up the ranks. I had to go through a period of like teaching myself that it needs to be there, again, by repetition. That's what was keeping me back. And then also coachability. So second guessing things, trying to act like
Were you scared to make it a priority?
I don't think I was scared to make it a priority. Like, there was no fear about it. It was just I hadn't done the learning yet. That it needs to be a priority. So I don't know if I would describe it as fear, or like I would call it lack of understanding, lack of acceptance. That's what I'd call it.
That's probably it.
Yeah, it's lack of acceptance that I've got it wrong for the last 10 years. It's that. So maybe it's some element of embarrassment. Like, how did I get 10 years of getting it wrong? Maybe that plays into a little bit, but you kind of have to do the learning yourself. So it's taking time to do the learning and being receptive to it. And by the way, you don't need to I don't think you need a coach or someone else to tell you to do the learning. Everybody knows what the right information is freely available in the current age, but it's knowing that you're not doing the repetition. So when I say how did I get there in terms of prioritizing my health, I mean things like even my Instagram feed was changed. I unfollowed the things that are not additive. At that time that I needed to make the switch, everything on my Instagram feed would be fitness related, or it would be health, or it would be mindset. The things that I stopped reading, that's another thing I didn't need any more information. I already had it. So stop reading so much. I don't mean don't read, right? I read a lot. But at that point, at that point I was I've read enough. I just need to take action. So then I just went into a period of deep thought about it. And it's almost daily practice to say, prioritize the health, prioritize the health, prioritize the health. And that didn't take long, by the way. It's not like that took 2 years. But it was, I don't know, if we're going to put number of points where I had to correct myself, maybe 50 points over whatever time frame you want to put over it is enough for your mindset, for you to form a new pathway in your brain to know that this is how I'm going to act.
Yeah. That's why we see people, when they come into the RNT ecosystem, tend to contemplate and explore the ecosystem for about 5-6 months before they think, all right, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
And we find if they do that with the right content and the right information and the right inspiration as well, they do really well on the RNT journey because they're well prepped, they're ready for it, they've accepted where they're at, and they know what's coming, and they can go all in on that. I think when you're sort of not in that state of acceptance and learning, like you mentioned, you end up just spinning your wheels, not going anywhere, and you're constantly fighting that change because you haven't accepted it. There's a lot of people there who are, like you said, they're severely obese, but they will use clothes to cover it. Flashy clothes to cover it, flashy cars to cover it, nice watches, drinks, the whole shebang, right? To make it okay, because it's something they can deal with later until life really stops them in their tracks.
Yeah.
And I think accepting where you're at and just accepting, look, you fucked up for a long time. You've messed up. You need to sort it out.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the hardest conversations you can have with yourself, because it's accepting defeat in many ways of your previous self.
Yeah.
That self is not working anymore, and you need to move forward. And I just hope people can do that before it's too late, and do it. And the earlier you do it, the better, because you have more life to live in full colour. Right? You can live it in full colour rather than living it in black and white.
Yeah. I think a thought that just come across my head in terms of, so we're calling acceptance of all of that. Where does the fear or the scared, where do those feelings come in? You also have to accept that when you're going to make this change, or you're going to shift your mindset, there's a lot of people, we spoke about tribes, there's a lot of people in your small tribe that are just not going to get it. So when people talk about fitness or transforming their personality or their approach to fitness, all the naysayers come in, all of the people that you have been going to the pub with or going out for meals with, all of that kind of stuff like that. Unfortunately, if they're not ready for it, they're going to drop off.
Yeah.
you have to like deprioritize your time with them because it's not additive to the goals that you set. And so maybe that's where the fear comes in. People are scared of like, oh, what's going to happen to my social circle? What's going to happen to it? You know, and it's quite interesting because what actually happens is you drop out, you know, you start performing, you start doing your own thing. And then everybody wants to know what you've been up to.
Yeah,
that's
fear
what
of
happens.
judgment, right? It's fear of judgment.
Yeah.
There's fear of failure probably in there.
But you have to like galvanize your mind to say that
Yeah.
it's okay. Like, if you've made the decision for yourself, you just need to go and do it. If people drop off, they drop off. Often goes in circles. They'll drop off and then they'll come back in to ask you, how are you doing it? Like, that's what happened. So yeah, I think that's where the fear element comes in.
What's as a closing sentiment? What's the number one tip you give for someone who's starting their journey this year? You know, we're recording this end of Jan, probably go out first week of Feb.
Yep.
What's your number one tip for someone looking to make 2023 their best year?
If you're looking to make 2023 your best year and you haven't started, why have you not started? Just get started tomorrow. My number one tip is just get started. Don't chase perfection. Don't chase anything. Wake up tomorrow, walk for 30 minutes. Prepare one meal. Just get started. Go and read 3 articles on R&T fitness, right? Go and do what you need to do. Take any positive action, but sitting and thinking about it is not going to get you there. You just need to take action. That's my number one piece of advice. And any time that you feel like you're faltering, it's too hard, you've put on weight, whatever, then the very next thought in your head should be, okay, but what can I actually do to cast a vote for my future self? So it's just take action now and keep returning to that action, and everything happens by repetition. If you keep doing that, in 6 months' time, you won't be the same person that you are now. In 12 months' time, you might be a totally different person. If you actually sign up to the program, your whole life might change. There you go.
There you go. Any final words?
Yeah, just don't forget to have fun on the way. Like, it's easy to like, you know, I'm very driven. I'm very like, sometimes my personality can be a bit abrasive and it sounds like, you know, I'm just pursuing it, but actually I'm having a lot of fun with it. I love going to the gym. You know, we have so much fun. We train with Samir, like in Muay Thai now. Like, it's actually like, we found this like new community, new sense of fun. Like going on runs and stuff like that. Initially it's hard, but like for me, it's nothing better than going on a 5K run now. I like, you actually find all these other people that like you kind of didn't even know about. So in central London, I started doing that. On a Tuesday, I was doing like midnight runners. It's like 200 people turning up to an event on a Tuesday, and we're just running through the city of London after work. Rain or shine, everyone's doing it. Loud music playing. Like you don't need to go out. You don't need to do anything. You can go do stuff like that.
Yeah. You
can have a lot of fun with it. So some of the things like, you know, I started all summer I was cycling, running. Kind of like now the Muay Thai thing is like, you know, it's all these things that I've always like wanted to think that, yeah, no, I could be a cyclist, I could be a runner, you know, I could fight Muay Thai.
Yeah.
It's only been possible because I kind of like have approached it with this mindset, like to have fun with it.
Yeah.
It
is fun.
It definitely is fun. And like, I don't know, when I was like talking about like buying social time and all that kind of stuff, that's also trying to like, that's you trying to have fun. This is a different kind of fun. This is like fun that's like leading to this massive like personal development. So I don't know. Those are like my closing remarks. I don't know. Maybe like it sounds a bit like all over the place, but that's just how a brain works. So just have fun with it. Like have
amazing
repetition, have fun with it. You'll be okay. And to be honest, like if anybody wants to chat to me, like you know.
Slide in the DMs?
Slide into my DM. Yeah. Oh no, they can come for you if they want to have a chat about it. If they think that there's, you know, sometimes it's easier to relate with someone that's like, I'm happy to chat to anyone.
Sure. 30 kilos down, 10 to go. I'm excited to see what you're saying is going to be the biggest transformation yet. So
yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Break the internet. Watch out, Kim Kardashian.